Baroness Bennett of Manor Castle.
My Lords, we begin this debate at a time when the subject of the bill is of acute urgency. That's not just for the obvious reason, the looming threat of a crash-out Brexit and the need for farmers to have certainty about what's happening in a few months' time, but because it's being debated with our countryside and food system in a state of emergency. The nature crisis, the collapse of biodiversity and bioabundance that's left the UK one of the most nature-deprived nations on earth, the obesity and health crisis associated with nutrient-poor diets, the dominance of the supermarket use in what we eat. These are the issues the bill could and should be tackling. Instead, what we have is a shell, a statement of a few principles, not generally bad in themselves, sometimes even admirable, and somewhat improved since earlier iterations of this legislation. But there are few commitments to action. This is a grade D effort, not even a pass mark. And what we need is a sterling, standout, brilliant bill. Something, and I'm sure the government will agree with me on this, something world-leading. The limitations of our arrangements in your Lordship's house, imposed not only by COVID, but the usual channels, have ensured that many peers with valuable contributions to make, my noble friend Baroness Jones of Moulscombe among them, have been excluded from this debate. I know they're pushing for a second day of debate, and I hope that is secured. Given the extreme time restrictions on today's speech, I'm going for a checklist of the issues my noble friend will be covering. Safeguards on import standards, ensuring agriculture reaches net zero carbon as soon as possible, and animal welfare standards. My focus will be on the farming systems and the food system. And I want to begin by saying that farmers, when they hear criticism of the system, often take it as criticisms of them. But we know they have been betrayed by decades of failed government policies. They need a bill that gives them a real choice to build back better. The government says that it supports agroecology. Words are good. A direction to the Secretary of State to support whole farm agroecological systems are far more important. The bill lacks too a commitment to organic agriculture. The EU's 2030 biodiversity strategy plans for 25% of agricultural land there to be organic. The EU is also looking at a 50% reduction in the use of pesticides and cuts to mineral fertiliser use. If the government wants to be world leading, it has to do better than that. Crucially, we need to ensure that payments for productivity in Clause 2 do not undermine progress on biodiversity, climate and animal welfare. Some are arguing that we should downplay nature and sustainability and dial up food production. But that is a false dichotomy and would risk doubling down on a food system that is contributing to a perfect storm of the spillover of diseases from wildlife to people. And it is chasing after, like the proponents of genetically modified organisms and crops, a failed industrialised monoculture. Just as there is growing consensus on the need to measure economic progress with indicators far more useful than GDP, we must adopt new indicators for agriculture. What we need to think about is people nourished per hectare, not tonnes of biomass. Protection for the basic infrastructure of farmers is also missing. They need financial security for long-term planning. An idea of a multi-annual financial assistance in the bill is good. Guarantees are needed. More, let's see a commitment to many thousands of new entrants. We need to see the county farms supported. We need to see the green belt used to best advantage, and as other noble lords have said, a comprehensive land use strategy. And then there's democracy. Let's give Northern Ireland control and let's bring in people's assemblies to oversee agricultural policy. My Lords, we've learnt that our holidays this year will be significantly curtailed. Good. Now we need the government to take the time to listen to the expertise of this House. And we,
Find the
as a
noble
House,
lady of the speaking limit.
What the people and the environment desperately need, a good, world-leading agriculture act.